morning. Welcome to the center. Say good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning.
Harry, you want to say good morning?
All right.
Shoemakers. Wonderful. Hi, good morning.
All right.
Morning.
All right.
She's a sugar glider. So it's called a sugar glider. They're like little marsupials. She has a little pouch on her belly, and she's just a small, about 3 ounces. Yeah.
I'd say small. Holy smokes.
Yeah, that's her favorite. Yeah. She likes anything sweet.
Good morning and welcome to our Spiritual Living Center, a home for everyone.
Good morning, everyone. As our century thought this morning, I want to talk about just being in the right place at the right time, and knowing that each and every one of us today are here at the right place and at the right time. Sometimes our lives get so busy, just like to hang it all up. And what I'd like you to do this morning is lower your eyes or close them, whichever makes you more comfortable. Take a nice deep breath. And as you exhale, just let all the tension of that outside world go right now. Excitement or challenges, whatever it may be, let it go. And I ask the opportunity for you to just be here, present, right now, during this particular time. We get busy in our lives. I know I do. And sometimes I wish I were somewhere else. But I'm so guided in knowing that I'm exactly where I need to be at the right time. In the Guide for Spiritual Living, this morning I read something I would like to illustrate to you through reading it to you, just about this very same thing. And Chris Michaels writes, "Now I know that only perfect time is right now, and the only perfect place is right here, and I am the perfect person for whom I waited. The law and the love and the presence and the power, these are the tools we work with to help ourselves and others." And that's by Ernest Holmes. So I'd like to read this illustration to you about these people that were definitely where they needed to be at the right time. Derek Simmons and his wife Jessica were enjoying a picnic dinner at the beach when they realized that there was a group of swimmers caught in a riptide. Derek charged into the ocean to help, but chest deep he felt the deadly current and knew that he was in danger of drowning too. As it happened, Derek had viewed a nature program on television explaining how communities of ants build bridges of their own bodies so they can cross water. Well, why wouldn't that work with people? Derek asked himself. He yelled for volunteers, and quickly a group of 50 people under his direction formed a human chain. From the front of the chain, strong swimmer Jessica swam out to each stranded person and pulled them back into the chain. The volunteers moved and pulled them back into the chain one by one until each person that was in fear of drowning were brought back to safety. Derek and Jessica Simmons were definitely at the right place at the right time, equipped with the perfect knowledge and the skills to save the lives of 9 people. This was no coincidence. Each of us is always in the right place. Sometimes it may not appear that way. The practice comes when we can remind ourselves that we are where we need to be, equipped with everything that we need. Excuse me. By the Spirit, within to do whatever needs to be done. Spirit places us where we need to be for our highest growth. And sometimes when I get into my head and I let my mind control my life, things don't always work quite so well. I forget that I'm really not in charge. And God's up there laughing at the very attempt that I'm doing that. I know that when I let Spirit guide, I'm always in the right place at the right time. So have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. And just allow your hearts to open and be receptive to a wonderful, wonderful speaker we have, Reverend Wanda, this morning. So it's going to be exciting and wonderful. Thank you and namaste.
That was just beautiful. What a beautiful way to start off the morning. Good morning. We have new music. Do you remember this song by Daniel Lehman? Go
I invite everyone, it's comfortable for you to lower your heads or close your eyes. And if you allow me to speak your word in the first person and know that I'm in the right place and in the right time. Knowing that the divine, recognizing it in everyone I meet, in every situation that I'm in, His invisible presence that I am surrounded in. I know that I am one with the body, that I am one with the Spirit. I know this is true for me, and as I unite this with everyone here listening to my voice, I know that there's only one. Oneness is not sameness, but we are individualized and unique in every expression of our own selves. God is expressing through us, in us, and around us. Knowing that there is a power within me that is greater than any situations or any conditions that is in front of me. I know this power is backing up me, and I am not recognizing any lack, any fear in sickness or any disease, knowing that I am God is. So knowing this truth, I am enlightened, I am uplifted, I am the truth. I see the light that is in me, through me, and as me, I give thanks. In realization of this, I am so grateful. I am so grateful for our ministers. I'm so grateful for Reverend Cheryl, Reverend Dan, so grateful for Reverend Stacy, who is also traveling to Calgary, knowing she's arriving safely and knowing that also that tomorrow's opening she's going to rock it with her message. I'm so grateful for our Ministry of Prayer team, who is always upholding the values of our center, who is always on high watch and giving all their best. I'm so grateful for our music, Pat and Dave, for being the heart and soul from within. I'm grateful for our sound. I'm grateful for Julius and all our volunteers. And most especially, I'm so grateful for you, congregation, being part of this loving community and just being who you are. So in faith and in trust, I'm releasing my word, this universal divine law of action, knowing my prayer is completely and already done. So I let go and let God, and I am complete, and so it is.
You guys are on today. Wow. I was going deeper into my God. Wow. No, you are on the right track. Let me tell you, you are. We've got some new music for you. Let's see what he plays.
This is the mystery.
Yes, it's a mystery. The cool mystery. Yeah.
Just kidding. No, he didn't.
See, he just played around. Yes! Don't you feel it? I tell you what, I feel blessed every day, but especially on Sunday. Come on now. I am blessed. Woo! I am blessed. Let's rock it out. Every day of my life, I am blessed, 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 blessed.
come over every morning, and as I glide out of bed, I want them to sing that song. Because I'm such a blessing. Okay. Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. Again, I'm Reverend Dan, one of the senior co-ministers here, along with Reverend Cheryl Bell and Reverend Stacy Hilton, who is not here, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But we welcome you. We're so glad you're here. So let's kind of get things started. Let's start with my most favoriteest thing. Oh, yes. If it's comfortable for you to do so, and if you'd like to put your hand over your heart, let's just take a moment and just know peace, just know oneness, just know unity, just know peace in the land, cooperation, collaboration, and goodwill to all men in this beautiful country. And so say with me, God bless America and the rest of the world. And so part of the world is next to you. Say good morning. As well when I walk through the door. As a matter of fact, I want Warren Buffett to sing it to me. Yeah, okay, so a couple of things. As you have heard, Reverend Stacy is not here this morning. She got up early this morning. She dressed in layers. I hear she looked like that kid on A Christmas Story after the mom put all her clothes, and he was going, I can't put my arms down. And because she's traveling to Calgary, where it's -4 degrees, which just makes us laugh a little bit, just a little. And so what's really, really exciting, think about this. This is Centers for Spiritual Living's annual international conference. She's traveling to Calgary, and she is the opening speaker for the conference. And this is being pushed out to all the centers throughout the world. You know, we have over 400 centers in over 30 countries. We will be here at 5 o'clock tomorrow, Monday, to, what we call it, a watch party. And she was fine with all that until we all made the decision that we're all bringing champagne. And we're going to drink while she talks, which that kind of made her angry. She said, now I have FOMO, fear of missing out. So if everyone is welcome, just show up as you are, and we'll be here at 5 to watch her. And how lovely that we have a structure and a ministry of prayer team and a congregation that allows for one of our ministers to be able to do that. It's just so exciting, so exciting. So look forward to seeing all of you. Okay, I think I'm done. Before I sit down, Reverend Stacy has asked us to show a small video. It's Women's History Month, and Reverend Stacy has asked Russell to show a presentation for us.
I have always wanted to sing this song for you, and I don't recall ever singing it. So, wish me luck. It's from a wonderful show called The Man from La Mancha.
With unbearable sorrow.
5, huh? The theme of this month is Spirit in Action. And so whether we have that beautiful voice like Patty, or whether we're gonna turn around and do a little dance and get down tonight, like Raven, we're being called to the virtue, the God-given virtue of integrity. Everyone knows what integrity is. It's a gift of spirit. And I had a friend that became a friend that started the International Virtues Project. In their kitchen, it was just about 3 people, and they said, hey, we're really concerned about the violence in the world. We're really concerned about the incarceration of so many men. What can we do, we 3 people? And one of these people was a hospice worker. Her husband, Dan, not this Dan, but her husband, Dan, was a scholar in world religion. He was also a child psychologist. And their brother, the 3rd one in the trio, worked for Disney. He was a designer. What can we 3 people do? And interestingly enough, they were in Canada. That was where they were. That's where they were from. And they brought this out. So, integrity. Let's talk a minute about their definition of what that is, what that means. Integrity is, in practice, is that we live by our ideals. Does everybody have ideals? Yep. Well, some aren't so sure. We'll see by the end. Maybe you can pick up on somebody else's. It's in every one of us. To be faithful to the virtues of my character, of one's character. So you're faithful to the self, your inner self, your spiritual self. To be trustworthy. I am trustworthy when I am at integrity. And with a temperament of righteousness and forgiveness. Does that make any sense? Because sometimes we miss the mark, is that right? That's really the definition of sin, and we don't preach that here. We just say, if you fall off, get back on. Because it's within every one of us to be wise, to be at integrity. Now, I was really interested in one of my favorite definitions of the science of mind, and I can't find it anywhere. So some of you will be able to tell me what page it is on. I could not find it, and I didn't have my concordance with me. So I went to the great wizard called Google. This is true. And I typed in correlation, because the science of mind has been described as a correlation of the laws of science, the opinions of philosophy, and the revelations of religion as applied to human needs and aspirations. Are you familiar with that? What page is it on? It's there, I know it. If not, Google. So, with that in mind, as a definition, my favorite one of science of mind, someone said to me last week, and also to Reverend Dan, hey, what about Jesus? What does science of mind say about Jesus? And I said, well, good question. The science of mind recognizes the divinity, the spiritual nature within every one of us. Science of mind doesn't deny the divinity of Jesus. It just adds and recognizes the divinity of everyone else. Of everyone else. So the focus when it comes to Jesus isn't about death, suffering,
being falsely accused and all of that. Science of Mind focuses on the teachings, the wisdom, the life and times, that people call it miracles. But we really know from what our ministers just taught us, it's the thing itself. It's the way it works. It's what it does. The spiritual nature, God's nature, that's one with our nature. So really you don't have to be saved, because you're not lost. And if you think you're lost, just go to Google. Google Maps can get you wherever you need to go. Confucius said, to put the world right, we have the opportunity to put ourselves right, to act from a place of spirit, of love, of heart. So in Romans it said what? Be ye transformed how? By the renewing of your mind. How does Ernest Holmes say it? Absolutely. Reverend Dan can't be the only one that knows that. That's exactly right. Change your thinking, change your life. Change your life. The thing that comes before that phrase in Romans basically says, don't be conformed by the ways of the world. Because a lot of times we're trying to do what somebody else did, right? Because we people are just so interesting. They even make magazines about it, TV shows about it. We want to see each other. We want to take pictures, all of that. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind and spirit. So let's think for a moment. Think for a moment. Integrity. That's the truth about us. Now, as I was preparing for this message, the word DNA kept coming up. How strange, you might say. I thought so too. DNA. So that stands for, it's a science. Remember I said religious science, the laws of science. Well, here's a science piece in DNA. Biochemistry. Okay, so deoxyribonucleic acid, that's what DNA stands for. And it's really interesting because it's the self-replicating elements in our life at a very, very fundamental level, at the level of chromosomes. It's extremely interesting. Genetic makeup, genetic information comes from there. That's what makes Stacy look like her mother, or her mother look like her mother. It's those properties that are within us, in our DNA. It makes you what you are. Makes you what you are. Isn't that interesting? You are unique and special. Your fingerprint is yours. Reverend Stacy and her mother don't share the same fingerprint, but they share the same genes, DNA. Well, that's half right, because there's another contributor in terms of parents. And so with that said, then, the offspring has both, a contribution from both. But the size, shape, color, intellect, heredity, that comes from the DNA. DNA. And yet, I just said that we're so much more than the body, temple. So much more than that part of us. I'm going to get to the gospel according to Reverend Wanda, but first I want to say, a couple more things. The laws, the opinions of philosophy. So Confucius would be like a philosopher, and I'm going to end with a poem that's going to bring that out as well. Our aspirations, our human needs, our DNA, our uniqueness. And I think it's phenomenal that we're not only unique, but we are all part of spirit. It's all spirit. I think that's amazing. I think it's just, I don't know what you think about it, but I think that that's really amazing because we are unique and yet we are one. We are one. And in science of mind, we know we're spirit, soul, which is that creative medium, the law, that gives the manifestation of the body. The DNA actually tells the protein what to make the person become. And then what do we get to do? We get to become that and so much more. Because when we activate that creative process within each and every one of us, when we tell ourselves the truth about who we are, how we really feel, what we really want to do, then we give birth to that. And what a loss if we didn't. What if Patty didn't learn that song? Then I'd have to sing it.
Do it. What you say, do it? Do it.
Only in mind. Doing it only in mind. So we're striving to do the things that are right. We know what that is for us. I remember my mother with that great intention counseled me on the fact that I was going to be alone. Because you see, I divorced my husband. Both of them. I did. And I took another priority and I put my time, attention, talents, and money at so-called rearing the child. And she said, you know, you're going to be alone. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to be alone, then I'm going to have the courage to face my life. And it was going to be whatever it was going to be. So be it. And I came in today, and the greeter said, "Happy birthday." And I remembered what my mother had told me. Now, she was telling me, preparing me, trying to protect me for what she saw my future would be, correct? Yeah, and many well-meaning people have probably told you a whole lot of things from their point of view. Not to hurt you, perhaps, but maybe to protect you, to prepare you, etc. Without knowing what we know. We have a heart. We have a will. We have a skill. We have gifts that we got, through DNA. But I'm going to give you a new definition of DNA according to Reverend Wanda, the gospel according to Reverend Wanda, about what DNA might be and how you might really consider. You might really consider that. You might really consider that. Do you know DNA can change over time? You know that? What's it called, you know?
Mutations.
Yes, mutation. Even that can change. Not like we change clothes, but with environmental factors, with chemicals, over time, things can actually, even DNA can change. But mostly, we get to choose. We get to create the life that we want, that our soul is calling us to bring forth. Is it too late? You think it's too late because you had a 35-year-old birthday? What a problem. But I'm thinking, perhaps, The D could stand for dignity. Stand for your dignity. And that dignity helps us walk our talk. Correct? N could stand for, in the Gospel according to Reverend 1, nobility. Your nobility, which guides you and supports you as your moral compass. See, we really make, I think, advances with GPS. I really love it. Because I really was lost. But not from a moral compass. That's the nobility that's within every one of us. And the A, for assertiveness. Think of a time when you asserted yourself. And perhaps you went beyond what previously you thought was available to you. Raise your hand if this makes sense to anybody. Okay? There's plenty of people that have had this experience. It's not too late. It's not too late. So this assertiveness is the guardian of our dignity. So DNA, your spiritual, we'll call it your spiritual DNA. Dignity, nobility, and assertiveness. Can you think about a time when you didn't assert yourself and you wish you had? Did you get another chance? Yeah, you got another chance, right? Same old problem kept all coming up. Now you could say it that way, same old problem. I moved from one state to the other state and the same old problem keeps coming up. The problem is you took yourself with you. It wasn't the state's fault, but the state of your consciousness. The state of your commitment to a power, presence, a purpose that's greater than you are. Waiting your recognition of it. So when we live in spirit, we walk in spirit, we celebrate the integrity of our inner gifts as well as our outer gifts, we can master whatever that is in front of us. Not that I would be a singer, but how about this? I at last have reached my goal and solved the mystery of my soul. I am that to which I prayed, that to which I looked for aid. I am that which I did seek. I am my own mountain peak. I upon creation look as a leaf in my own book. For I the one, the many make, of substance, which from me I take. For all is me, there are no two. Creation is myself, all through. What I grant unto myself, I take down from my own shelf and give me, the only one, for I am the Father and the Son. When I want, I do but see my wishes coming forth in me, for I am the knower and the known, the ruler, subject, and the throne. The 3 in 1 is what I am. And it says hell itself is but my dam, dam meaning the water, holding back the water, which I did put in my own stream, when in a nightmare I did dream that I was not the only one. Thus by me the pain begun, which ran its course till I awoke and found that I with me did joke. So now that I do stand awake, I my throne I wisely take, and rule my kingdom, which is me, a master for eternity. God bless you.
Oh, what a fun day, you guys. And tomorrow's Monday. Or is it Sunday plus? For my second choice today, chose one of my favorite songs by Stevie Wonder. Ready, Dave?
Today we read a book called The Quilt Maker's Gift, and it's about a quilt maker who lived in the mountains, and no one could remember a time when she wasn't up in the mountains sewing a quilt. And at night, when it was really windy and really rainy, she would come down from her mountain, and she would bring her quilts and she would lay them over the people that were poor and homeless to cover them. And then when she was doing that, there was a greedy king who liked getting presents more than anything. And he got many presents on his birthday and Christmas, but he still didn't think there was enough. So he said, I want to celebrate my birthday twice a year.
And there's something wrong with that.
So he asked all of his soldiers, is there anyone in the kingdom who did not give me a gift for my both birthdays and Christmas? And they looked all over, and they realized that the quilt maker didn't give him a gift. So all the soldiers and the king went up to the quilt maker's house and asked, why haven't you given me a gift yet? And she said, I only give quilts for poor people when it's windy. And he said, I want a quilt. And she said, you have to give up all your gifts that you've got. Every time you give a gift up, I will sew a little piece of your quilt. And then when all of your all your gifts are gone, the quilt will be done. And he said, no, I want my quilt. And she said, no. She refused. And so he put her his soldiers brought the quilt maker to like a cave, and he said, can I have a quilt? And she said no. And so he said, okay, you can stay here overnight, and when I come back in the morning, you won't be here. You will be like gone. And so when the bear woke up, the quilt maker was like friends with the bear, and the bear helped the quilt maker. And when the king came back in the morning, he said, can I have a quilt, please? And the woman said the same thing. Every time you give up one of your gifts, I'll sew a piece of your quilt. Once all of your gifts are gone, then your quilt will be completed. And he said, I want it now, and the quilt maker refused. So he put her on an island and said, when you wake up in the morning, when I come here in the morning, you won't be here, you'll be gone. And then there was this bird, and the quilt maker became friends with the bird. And the king said, if I have a quilt and I have to give up all my stuff, then I'll give up all my stuff for a quilt. And so the quilt maker kept her promise, and every time he gave up one of his gifts, then she would sew a little piece of a quilt.
Hello. So this week we're talking about gratitude and respect, and also, I don't know if most of you know, this week, I don't know what day in particular, I think tomorrow, is Dr. Seuss's birthday. And so we read a Dr. Seuss book that I finished up while we were walking up here because it was a long book. And so it's called Did I Ever Tell You How Lucky You Are? And it talks about all the reasons that you were so lucky and how there are tons of thousands of billions and trillions of other people who aren't as lucky as you. And I thought that was a really great message.
Hello. So today we were talking about integrity, and we learned an affirmation. It says, I am an expression of the divine made entirety of God's stuff. I am one with it, inseparable from it.
So today we talked about always saying what really is, always telling what really happened, and then people will always believe us for our whole lives.
And so it is.
thank you very much, everybody. It sounds like you had such a wonderful class. You know, there's sometimes things happen in our country, sometimes things happen in Washington, D.C., and sometimes Reverend Dan kind of shakes his head, and then I come here on Sunday and I see you, and I realize that this country is in such great hands. You renew my faith, and I love you all very much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing you. All right, so let's have the ministers come forward, the practitioners come forward, visiting ministers, the Pope, any nuns? Father Aldo. And so if we'll just stand and connect.
And so as we go about the rest of the day, the rest of the week, let us go forth in joy, in peace, in awareness that who and what we are and who and what we represent is a light in the world. We're a light to each other. We're a love to each other. And we remember this with integrity. We are about the business of spirit and truth. And that is the gift of integrity. And so we say thank you so much for the time that we've spent together, for every message, every messenger, every song, every prayer. And we just say hallelujah and amen.
Hallelujah and amen. And let's sing.
Yes, there is peace on earth, and now it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as our power, love was all agreed. Now we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me. Let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and now it begins with me.
So repeat after me. Something wonderful is happening to me right now.
Something wonderful is happening to me right now.
I know this in my mind.
I know this in my mind.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my body.
And so it is.